This is your boy Leon D. We're going to talk about a lot of things on this podcast, primarily food. I like to talk about food a lot, but we're going to talk about food around the world. We're going to talk about some other things that's going to touch your heart or make you mad. It really don't matter, but I'm gonna tell you about it though. DJ Leon D. Peace. Let's get it on. What's up, family? This is your boy DJ Leon. I'm back. I've been traveling for a while, but let's talk about something that's been bothering the hell out of me. I took a trip down to West Florida, Tampa area, and I went into a restaurant called Cheddar's. Now, Cheddar's is not a bad place, not a bad place at all. I decided to go there because I went there the night a couple days before. I went there a couple days before, and the prices were good, and the food was not bad at all. The food definitely, the prices definitely justified the food. Cheap prices, and they have a very, very good menu. They kind of like have a little everything. And it was one of those things that I said, let me try the steak. Now, I've been eating steak for 60 years. I know every cut of a cow you can imagine. If you can cut it, I can tell you what part of the cow it is. So I went there and they had a special on. Filet mignon. They had a special on. And I ordered it. And it said 2 4-ounce, fillets. That was the part of the price. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll take that. And the night before I got it, it was very, very good. Or actually 2 days before. It's very, very, very good. So I decided to order it again. And when it came out, I said, the waiter, nice guy, young guy, nice guy. So I decided to ask the waiter. I said, hey, this is not filet mignon. Yeah, this is not center cut filet mignon. This is a sirloin. You can tell by the shape of the steak too that it was sirloin. So I didn't make a big deal out of it. I ate it. No big deal. My wife ate hers. No big deal. So when the waiter came back, I said, hey, can I get my bill? And so he came back with the bill. The bill showed that I had paid a $7 upcharge for a filet. I said, I didn't have a filet. I mentioned that to you before I ate my steak. I said, I had a sirloin. And he said, let me get the manager. So the manager comes over and I said, hey, this bill is not right. And she was like, what's wrong with it? I said, well, I didn't get a filet mignon. I said, because I had sirloin. And she said, no, I went and got it myself out of the freezer for you. I said, you didn't get a filet mignon out of the freezer because I ordered it and about 2 minutes later it was being delivered to me. You can't get a filet mignon that quick. Now, I understand that it's probably already prepared, before business open today. But I'm not paying for something I didn't get. And she goes, well, I don't want to make a big deal out of it, but I went and got it myself out of the freezer. I said, you might have went and got a steak out of the freezer, but you didn't get a filet mignon. I said, you got it. I said, what I was served was a sirloin. And then so she was like, well, I'm going to take this off the bill. I'm just going to charge you for a sirloin. I said, you're not doing me a favor for charging me for what I ate. I'm paying for what I ate. And the young kid was standing around there. So she went and she corrected the bill. And I said, okay. But I tipped him 20% because he did nothing wrong. Now, here's my problem I have. If you're a manager, if you're a manager of a restaurant, and I understand you're not making a lot of money. I get that. But you should know all the cuts for the most expensive things on your menu. You should know that if you're a manager. And whether you're a fill-in or whether you just somebody that's playing manager for that day, I don't know. I don't care. But you're not going to charge me for something that I did not get. So I was not thrilled, not happy. I wasn't happy at all. And but like I said, the sirloin was not bad. It was cooked very, very well. So I went to the bathroom to wash my hands because I had spilled some soda on it, and I said I don't want to put this on my steering wheel, down my leather. So I go wash my hands, and for some reason, a lot of restaurants have the bathroom right next to the damn kitchen. Common sense is you want your bathroom as far from your kitchen as possible. So I saw the chef in there and I said, "Hey, you got a second?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, what's up?" I said, "Did you cook filet mignon for any customers today?" He goes, "No, we don't have any. That special ended yesterday and we're out." I said, "So you didn't cook any for any customers today at all?" He goes, "No, no, no, no." He goes, "A few people, asked me, did I have any more left?" He goes, "But no, I haven't had any." He said, I ran out yesterday afternoon." And I said, "Okay, not a problem." I said, "Because your manager thinks that you did." He goes, "No, she went and got a couple of sirloins out of the back and she gave them to me and I cooked them. And the customer, I guess, liked them. He ate them. I didn't hear anything negative or bad about it." I said, "Well, I was their customer." And he said, "Was something wrong with it?" I said, "No, no, 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 no. The only thing wrong was the price." He goes, "Well, I don't set the price." I said, "I'm not asking you about the price that's on the menu." I said, "I'm talking about the receipt that I got from her saying that I had filet mignon." He goes, "Well, if you had it, you didn't have it here." I said, "Thank you very much for your time." And so I go back outside and I see her. I say, "Hey, your chef did not cook any filet mignons, today." She goes, "Well, I gave it to him." I said, "I don't think you know what you gave him, but if I'm a manager and that's the most expensive thing on my menu, I'm going to know what the hell it looks like. I'm going to know what it looks like because that's a moneymaker. But not only that, you're screwing a young kid out of his tip because I gave him 20% based on the original receipt. And I didn't even get the filet mignon, but I gave him a tip based on that. So I said, "That's just how it works and stuff, no big deal." I said, "But, she goes, "Well, I corrected your bill, so I did you a favor." I said, "You didn't do me a favor. You charged me for what I had." I said, "So you want me to say thank you or something for giving me the right bill?" I said, "No, that's not how it works." I said, "I don't mind paying for what I get, but I'm not paying for something I did not get." And she was kind of like disturbed by the fact that my attitude was semi-negative, and it was negative because she didn't know what the hell she gave me, And I was like, "Listen, I don't know where you went to school at or who taught you how to manage, and I'm not trying to eat free. I got money. I don't mind. That's why I ordered the filet mignon. I did not come here, and I said, I saw sirloin on the menu, and I didn't want a sirloin." I say, I probably ate about, in 60 years, I'm say probably 3,000 filet mignons. I said, I eat one at least every other week, especially when I'm traveling. So, it was not a big deal. But, I just wish you knew what you were serving here. I said, because there's a group of 30 people over there, having some kind of party. I guarantee you they had all kind of crap that they didn't order or they had things mixed up. And she was like, "Well, I've been trained to recognize the cuts of meats." Well, you failed the test. If you've been trained, either one or two things happen. One or two things happen. You fail or your trainer failed because you do not know what the hell you gave me, and I do. Matter of fact, here go a picture of it. So she goes in and get the chef, and she tells him, she says, "Hey, did you cook the filet mignon I gave you?" He said right in front of me, "You didn't give me any filet mignon. You gave me 2 sirloins, but you didn't give me filet mignon." And I was thinking to myself, why are there steaks in the freezer anyway? And you trying to make it sound like it was fresh. If it's been in that freezer, I got news for you. It probably came from your distributor because Cheddar is actually a chain restaurant in the Tampa area. There are 4 or 5. Actually, now that I say that, Cheddar has probably got about 50 different restaurants locations. They probably got 50 different restaurants around the country because there's one in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it came from a distributor prepackaged, frozen. When I think of fresh, I think of like you got it today, not you already had it yesterday. Yeah, and nothing wrong with that because every restaurant does that. Every restaurant does that. It is what it is. It's just that don't pretend you know something you don't know. And if me being a chef, if I'm, it's just embarrassing. And I know a manager got a lot of things to do in a restaurant. They got to serve liquor, make sure no one's, make sure no one's stealing anything. You keep an eye on the thieves. Make sure all the tips are distributed equally, especially for those who you're paying minimum wage to. I mean, you got a lot of things to worry about. But what you ought to worry about the most is the customer. And if a customer shows you a picture of a cut of meat or steak or whatever have you, it's kind of like saying, here go a rib versus a pork chop. No. Anybody with common sense knows the difference. It's because they're cut different. The bones are shaped different. But she I guess has some issues because she felt that she was doing me a favor and I felt that I was getting ripped off. And once I discovered that I didn't have what I was being charged for, you felt that I should apologize or say something to you or whatever you wanted me to do, something in a positive way, or at least thank you. That was not going to happen. The fact that you disputed it really bothered me. You should have went and asked that chef, what did he cook before you came and told me what I ate? I know what the hell I ate. So, my whole thing was you get people like that, and there's not a lot you can do about it because I didn't have time to train her. No. I was going to the beach. Didn't have time to train her on anything. I just felt that she should have known from the very beginning, if we are out of this particular item, then I know we're out. And if a customer asks me, then I'm going to sit there and say, okay, we don't have that anymore. It's kind of like going to an ice cream shop and she's telling you you have vanilla when you had chocolate or strawberry. And then she finds out you haven't had vanilla. She's not had vanilla in the store in a long time. Yeah, so that you guys are hiring these people at minimum wage. Well, let me tell you one thing about minimum wage. Minimum wage to me means you got minimum intelligence. And as an educated person, I felt offended the fact that you really wanted to double down and have me to pay an additional $14 because I had a steak, my wife had a steak. And like I said, it was nothing negative about the steak at all. It's just that it wasn't what you thought it was. And not only that, I showed you a picture of the cut, and you should know the cuts of steak. I have never seen a filet mignon shaped like the state of Massachusetts. I have never seen one shaped like the state of Florida. That's what she gave me and my wife. And so my thing was they always been kind of like circular. The cut of filet mignon, it's a standard cut of meat. Kind of like a brisket. Unless you detach part of the flat or whatever, the brisket looks about the same no matter where I picked them up at my whole life. And I had quite a few briskets in my lifetime because I eat a lot of beef. I eat a lot of beef, I eat a lot of pork, I eat a lot of chicken. I know the differences in all the cuts. And not only that, I have cut hogs and cows myself. And there's nothing strange about them, nothing tricky about them. If someone wants ribs, you got some bones. If you give somebody a pork shoulder, boneless pork shoulder, and tell them it's ribs, it's not going to fly. But my whole thing is, I don't know what kind of training managers get at these restaurants. I have no clue what kind of training they get. I really don't know. And I know the turnover in the restaurant industry is very, very high because I've had relatives, I've known people, I've known friends, their kids. I know that they all, what you want to say? They've all had, siblings, kids, relatives all work in this industry. They don't stay very long. Some leave because of the pay is very, very poor. Some leave because they can't steal. Some leave because they got caught stealing. They all leave, my side of the family, they leave for a variety of reasons. You never know the real truth, and And this was not a fast food place. This was like a sit down place. And you're gonna tell me you cook the filet mignon medium well, you cook that in 2 minutes? I don't think so. No. But my whole point is this. When you start your shift as a manager in any place, you always ask, especially if you're in the service industry, you always got to know, what do we have, what we don't have, what's going on. You want to be backfilled from what's going on from the manager that you're relieving, or even if you're opening up. Even if you're opening the restaurant up, you always want to run through the freezer and run through and make sure everything's nice and neat and nothing is green, unless it's a vegetable. Your meat should be green. I mean, there are things you just do, and if the special ended, you should know when this special ended. And you should also say, hey, I don't have that anymore. So, okay, if a customer asks for this, this is the deal. We don't have that anymore, but here go a substitute that's similar. Sirloin. The only steak we have today is sirloin, everybody. I mean, you get together and you talk to your crew. Even as a manager in the federal government, I've always made an effort to see what's going on. Sometimes I don't want to know, but I always ask. And I don't mean your personal life. I want to know what's going on as far as is so-and-so going to be here on time? How many tables do we have ready to open? How many servers do we have? Do we have a chef? Do we have a dishwasher? Sometimes a lot of places that's the same person, like in Mexican restaurants. But you always want to know all this kind of information before you start your shift so that you can tell the customers what is on sale today, what you don't have, what you do have. You got to do that. And this manager obviously didn't do that, because the chef said we ran out yesterday afternoon. She should have known, or someone who was managing should have known at that point, we don't have that anymore. It's kind of like how people go back and they ask the bartender or the chef, do they have certain things? No. It's just this environment, this culture nowadays, and young people nowadays, and not just young, old people too, especially the old ones. They walk in Cracker Barrel and they want to ask you, do you have shit that's not even on the menu? I mean, Cracker Barrel is one of those kind of places that they ask you stuff and you be like, I can't believe I was asked this question. But they do. Cracker Barrel, old people walk in, they don't even want a menu. They don't need a menu. They're gonna ask for what they want anyway. And the ones who go to Cracker Barrel every day, they know exactly what they have every day. And some ones who don't go very often, they may be new to the game, and they're gonna tell you, I don't need a menu. I want peanut butter and jelly. Well, this is a steakhouse. Okay, just give me the bread. I got my own peanut butter and jelly in my socks. I got it in my socks, so just give me the bread. But that was an episode that when you go to a place, it's kind of like I told people a long time ago. If I go to a bar and I want a certain drink, if you don't have that, you can offer me a substitute, but I'm not paying the same damn price that I want to pay for the drink that I like. I'm trying to help you earn some tip money, and most of the time I don't get a drink at all. If you don't have what I want to drink, I just don't get a drink. And that's not going to bother me. That's your tip that's going to kill you. So think about all that. And this is your boy DJ Leon D. Be nice to each other or punch the shit out of somebody. Do one of the two things. Just don't walk around angry. This is your boy DJ Leon. This is all about managers must know what they're serving to their customers. Don't debate with someone who just told you he's a chef, and ask your chef before you come ask me anything. Peace out.